Aldo stayed at the bench last night.
He must have been close by when the murder happened.
She's not my friend. I'm just helping her investigate a story.
What about it? He looks cautious.
Not every day there's a corpse lying on your doorstep. These things take time. You've only just started.
I don't have time. Shh, please.
Hi Greg, how are you doing? Would you mind introducing yourself as a first start already?
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm Gregor, I'm Greg. Most people call me Greg. I'm the CEO of Mipumi Games, and we are a development studio based in Vienna, Austria.
Mipumi Games, has a long history and is well established in the Austrian game development scene. Can you tell us a little bit about the history, how it all started, and everything pretty much?
Yeah, sure. So actually, the company is 12 years old now, and it was started back in the days as a company, as a studio which should work on games that don't have to be big. So this was our slogan and still is our slogan. So the idea is that we would set on challenges, but just one challenge at a time. And based that we worked before that at Rockstar Vienna, and I also worked at Related Designs in Germany. It was that we had experience with well-known brands and with big teams, and we wanted to convey this to a smaller studio. That's why we started with smaller projects in the beginning, but after a while we wanted to set up a couple of pillars. So currently what we do is that we have one pillar which is co-developments. We work with well-known brands and with big partners as Ubisoft, as Remedy, as IO Interactive. And we work on Hitman, and we work on the Settlers brand, and we work on or supported Control last year. Then we do work for hire projects, and then we also work on regional IPs. And the studio, even though it started small in the beginning, just a couple of us, and I, as a background, I can tell you that I might be a little bit exotic because I studied economy and law and did sound design, and then I became project manager, and then I did project management for about 20 years. So this is also, I would say, a little bit of strange background, so to speak. But after all, it turned out that we could size up the company to more than 30 at the moment, and we could work on a variety of different sized projects on original IPs. This is something that started 6-7 years ago. We had the so-called Mipumi Day introduced, which is the first Friday every month where we work on original ideas and prototypes and try to come up with new stuff that you would like to share and see if this comes to life at some day. And then one of those ideas that originated there was the Lion Song, which was from Stefan, our creative director, that he made a Ludum Dare product for a couple of minutes, which was really well received. It was, as far as I remember, I think fourth worldwide in and first in character and mood. And that's when we decided that we should make a full game out of that. And we said that we would make it episodic, we would set it in Austria, and we would like to try to set our constraints. So the game was only using 6 colors, and it was a pixel palette. And this was something which was very different to a lot of other games at this point in time. And after all, it was then very well received because it won awards. It was the best indie game at the German Developer Award. It was the best video game at the Future Zone Award. And it is nowadays running on PC and on Switch and on mobile. And later on, we started to work on the Flower Collectors, which was our second game. And this one was released earlier this year, in April even. And the idea of this game is that you play Jorge, a protagonist who's bound to the wheelchair, and he is living in 1977 Barcelona in the post-Franco time, and he's a former detective that will solve a crime and a murder case. And it is about using your binoculars and your camera to solve the mystery behind it.
These are also beautiful games, and I mean, you can really see that they're so well crafted and really, really pretty. The Lion Song I always give my students as a homework that they have to play it and analyze it. It's a really fantastic game. Yeah, but thank you so much for sharing that. And would you, what are the next steps? Is there anything you can already share with us? What are you, not only also what are you working or planning on next, but maybe the bigger vision? What is like the big vision for the studio or what you want to achieve? This is also an interesting question.
I think what we want to achieve and what we want to continue to do is that we want to work on projects that matter, also for all of us, for society, because we think that games in culture and in media are very important. And we also think that there is still, I would say, the top of the ice ice peak that we need to uncover. So there is a lot of stories that can be told. There's a lot of interesting characters that can be introduced, and there's also a lot of gameplay elements that you can use around those that either revolve mystery or that share something. It's a similar situation as it was maybe in the movies and in TV, like back in the 1920s, 30s, when it was also about to be discovered. And I think that given that nowadays more and more people of all target audiences and of all ages are playing games, it is something where we have to continue to push the limits with the stories that we want to tell. And while the first game was Lion Song was something where we had a story that was set in Austria at the beginning of the 20th century, and I'm not aware of a lot of games that play in Austria. The second game, using the post-Franco regime time in Barcelona, both are settings that are not used so far. And I think that we have to continue to see what can we do with games which is not maybe 100% mainstream, but which is also something which is being interesting for a broader target audience, for people that are not that much aware of games and want to try something out, which is then interesting for them, where they can learn something. As you described before, that you also give Lion Song, for example, to your students. I think this is something that we have to take a look at in the future. And for us as a studio, I think this is one of the pillars that we want to continue to build up in the studio. In addition to that, for sure, we're currently working on our next game. This is something that I can tell you so far already, but I will not reveal anything beyond that. And in addition to that, is that I can also say that we will continue to work on co-developments, because we are very happy and very proud that we have the possibility in Austria to work with all those partners, like I said before. And also, I see it as important that we have the possibility to work on the technologies, that we have the possibility to work on all these different platforms, and also learn from all these experiences so that we can push forward with cutting edge technology and with cutting edge content.
This is so exciting, and I think you're, yeah, I really look up to your studio and your vision here. I think you are looking at some very interesting and important points. Yeah, speaking of looking up, what advices would you give young developers or people trying to get into the industry, maybe starting up their own studios? Do you have any advices you could give?
I think one of the most important advice that I can give or should give is that there are a lot of ideas out there to make games. There's a lot of passion also about making games. But one thing that we should never forget is that we also have to live from making games. And that's why one of the advice that I always give also my students is that it's about having not just an idea, but also seeing how you can make money with this idea. So you have business plan and think about how you can be profitable after a while, because the most beautiful game is something that will not be successful if it is just something that a couple of players will play. And I think this is something that we all need to understand and need to learn. And given that, it is also that also based on the company size and the company history, you need to establish processes that support that, so that you also have maybe externals that will play your games or you play your prototypes and give you that feedback, like, is it something that is worthwhile to pursue, or is it just your own idea that you feel really super cool? Or is it that you get feedback then from consultants or from publishers or from partners that you trust? Because I think this is something that we all need. For us, for example, we have set up and established a process, which is an internal greenlight process, where we try to take a look at our prototypes and our games every month or every second month so that we know which direction we want to aim. And this is something which is important, especially if you're not working on just with a publisher, because otherwise you don't have all this control that will give you that feedback process and feedback loop to make sure that you're on the right track with your project.
Very, very cool. This is very interesting and very, very inspiring. The last question is maybe a challenging one. I don't know, but I mean, for many, 2020 has been a very challenging year, and I mean, it certainly has been a different year. And I would be interested in how did you and your studio cope with the challenges 2020 brought, and also are there any specific learnings or takeaways for the future? So things of the processes which might have changed, and also what are you most looking forward to when things are getting a little bit more normal again?
I think that we are in an industry and with game development that is really fortunate that we are used to work with computers and that we are also used to work remotely. So this is something that is definitely a big plus for us. Nevertheless, I think that during this year, there was a cultural shift, which is something, especially for the whole IT industry, that we have to be aware that there will be more remote work in the future. Because we all learned and established that it is, regardless where you work, at the office or at home, you can be as productive and as efficient in both ways. And given that situation, I think that a lot of studios will also rethink their approach. Like everyone has to stay at the office all the time. They will maybe have more home office days. There will be maybe also other, I would say, opportunities for using remote days in these situations. For us, I think that we were well prepared because we thought about setting up processes for remote work in February already. And then after all, we tried to accommodate it in the best possible way so that we brought like everything that was necessary to all our employees. So all the team members could work as good as possible. So it could be from computers to furniture to whatever someone needed. In the end, it is a process that is still ongoing because everyone is still working from home. And I assume that this is something that will also continue for the near future. I think for it was not just a cultural shift, but also a shift in communication, because we all had to learn that it's not just about having a meeting, drinking a coffee with each other, having a break somewhere and talking about something, but that it is more about how you can have online meetings, online communication with all the different online tools that are available in the best possible way without having too many misunderstandings. Because written in text, for example, there may be so many things that you could just misunderstand. So this is really important. So there was a shift that everyone needed to be, I would say, explain better and try to be more precise with what everyone says. But I also think that this is a learning process that we all have to deal with for now and with the near future. And in the future, it will mean that we have then multiple ways of handling things. For example, think about conferences. In this year, everyone had to work with video conferences and video chats, even though it was something like the GDC, the Game Developer Conference in San Francisco. It was online. There were other conferences that were also held online, and there were talks given online. And everyone saw that this is a concept is also working. So I think in the future, there will be a mixed process of having both at the same time. Maybe it will be that some conferences will have both formats at the same time. We don't know that yet, for example. And this means also for the near future that I'm looking forward that I will see the team members again, because it is something where we have a lot of meetings digitally. And sometimes we saw someone in summer, but it is really something that I'm hoping that we can do again in 21.
Thank you so much. This interview has been a pleasure, very inspiring, so many interesting takeaways, and yeah, I'm already looking forward to get to know your next project. I cannot wait.
If you take a look in the credits of flower collectors, then you might get a hint.
Oh, okay, we take a look. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Bye.
Thank you very much for having us. Bye.